Вітаю, друзі! Я Аля, бойовий медик полку 413 рейд, і сьогодні у нас в гостях дві найчарівніші жінки. Я відчуваю себе вперше в такій жіночій компанії, просто офігезно. Я рада, не дивлячись на те, що пацани прибрали звідси всю вбивчу апаратуру, я все одно надзвичайно тішуся вашою компанією. У нас є сьогодні в гостях Емілі, американська парамедикиня, моя вчителька і прекрасна подруга Юлія, яка їбейший перекладач, це слово не вирізать. So, guys, today I have two guests, which I will interview with my terrible English. I'm sorry, everyone who knows how to speak correctly. I try my best. One day I will speak not only fast, but correctly too. But the main topic is experience of these two charming ladies, which found a time for coming in this studio of Raid and talk about medicine, about combat medicine protocols and their own experience. Pow! Please, ladies, who want to start first about and introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Emily. I am a paramedic back in the United States. We represent Force of Ukraine. I've been a paramedic for 8 years. I've worked in both in emergency room setting and pre-hospital. I was a firefighter paramedic for 5 years.
Show this.
Firefighter paramedic.
This is my favorite.
Yes, and I've been coming to Ukraine since April 2022. I initially came out with an organization my first 2 times, and then we established Force Ukraine in spring of 23. And so we've been coming out ever since. I believe this is my 9th trip out here.
Hi, I'm Yulia. I'm an interpreter, medical and surgical interpreter, but also I'm a combat medicine instructor. And I started to work as medical interpreter since the beginning of the invasion. It was accident, actually. I was invited by my friend to translate the first training, and I just, I was trapped. At some point, I found myself an OR, and I started to work with surgeons. And I joined Force Ukraine team, I believe, 1,000 years
1,000
ago.
years.
We lost count, and we are trying like which year it was, which month, what. Even like when we start mission and we finish mission, I'm like, it feels like 10 years in like this few weeks. So yeah, I think it was 2023. It's 5-6 of us usually in the country, but it's actually more people than on a mission. We have a lot of guys who have in our bag when we are here in the field.
By the way, thank you for saying invasion, not a conflict or something like that, which I sometimes see in international media. Please tell invasion, war, but not conflict. I know you know, but anyway, I'm very grateful.
Don't forget the war started for me in 2014. That's my distinction.
Yeah, exactly. Please Google this if you didn't know what was the root of the problem. So I also really interested in how did your loved ones and colleagues in the United States react to your decision to come to the war zone?
So my sisters, it was kind of funny. They said, of course you're going. It was not a shock to them. They were not very surprised. I've always been someone that's been very eager to help other individuals, which is why I became a paramedic. My dad is my biggest supporter. He's probably like my biggest cheerleader. And so he was very scared, but he was just so ecstatic for me to come out here. And he kind of lives vicariously through me. And so he loves all the stories, all the pictures that I get to share with him. My stepmom, also one of my bigger supporters. She was very scared, but respects and understood my decision. And so I love sharing the information back with them to let them know that I'm safe. But of course, when they hear the news and I'm out here, I always send a quick text home, let them know that I'm okay, and I wasn't where that situation occurred, because I never tell them where I'm at in country until we leave it, just for safety reasons.
It's very altruistic to go somewhere. Sometimes I think about this. like how it feels to go somewhere very far away. When actually I graduated from university, I had this idea to go in some war countries and be the norther. And I applied application form in Red Cross. Sorry for this. I didn't know their reputation will be like nowadays. Yeah, that was many years ago when Tesla was normal car.
Wow.
Sorry for this analogy, but I couldn't hide it. And actually, my dad is also a big fan of my participation. His reaction was like, "Dad, I'm going to the army." And he said, "Oh, of course, they will not figure out without you. Now they will win for sure with your participation." Do you want to share this topic, or we will skip because it
I
can
can
be?
talk about my chosen family, right? Actually, my roommate Yaroslav, who is an amazing person, like a brother to me, very kind. So he's responsible for me to go into this. He invited me for the first training of TCCC for his just established evacuation team. Then I met my teacher, my good friend, an amazing person, Dan Taylor. Dan, hi. And actually, they both kind of, they are my good friends, my best friends. They're both responsible for me going deeper, let's say it like this. So I started with basics, then I started to do like some help with medevac, more trainings, more advanced trainings, and then I started to join teams who are going to the front line, not like zero line, but very close. And it wasn't ever a question. And all people who is like my chosen family, they are always supportive. They cover my back. I know that if I need something, I can call. They can send me, or they can even evacuate us if it's needed, right? So yeah, I don't have the problem of like, what are you doing there? I had these questions from people, let's say, outside of my inner circle.
Yeah, outside
like,
your
yeah, like,
connection.
why are you doing this? Why are you risking your life? Why are you so tired? Why are you like wearing yourself with that? This is my values. I want to help people, and I feel this is my calling in this life. So this is how it is.
That's because it's your chosen family and your taste is very good. That's why they react. I was told by one of my ex-friends that I probably had something wrong with my mind. That I
Definitely.
abandoned my good life in Germany and my good sportive life and came to the war country for participate. Like I probably have some.
Well, if you remember correctly, even I tried to like make you not to come. Please think twice. Yeah, but yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
I had a lot of pushback like that. So when I quit Arvada Fire to be able to come out here consistently, and I had a lot of pushback from individuals on my crew, just sitting me down, having the dad talks of like, are you sure this is the right decision? Like, you know, you're leaving a more stable environment to go somewhere that's more, you know, dangerous. It's a war, and now you're going to come back home and you're not going to have that financial stability. But to me, it wasn't about losing financial stability. It was going into a place where individuals need us, not to I guess not rely on us, but just know that we're there to support them and to help. And I think I was absolutely hooked on my first mission out here. I was only here for less than 2 weeks, but I was like, oh, I need to stay. I need to keep coming back.
And 1,000 years later, we're still here. And
This
we're still
friendly parenting talks I even respect very much. If it's free from blaming or pushing or accusing you to something, yet it's totally fine.
Oh, I don't
it's
care
like,
if I don't care if
yeah,
the
yeah.
family hears me say
But
that.
it's our life and our choice, and I'm very grateful that you pick up our country and our people for being in our team in so complicated for us time. So, girls, you're my favorite. You're the best. Woman's power. One more question. I'm sorry, fish memory. I need, if it's in question on English, I need to read. Otherwise, it will be. How were your first days, weeks in Ukraine?
So my first time ever going international was to Ukraine. the most I've ever been is when I drove from Alaska to Colorado, was through Canada. And so like that's where I have my international travel. And so that's probably the most biggest question I get is like the first time I travel international is to a war zone country. I was like, yeah, you know, go big or go home is kind of how I felt about it. But I think I was nervous because of the organization I was with kind of instilled this fear into us. But I realized even after like the third or fourth day that I kind of look at the people around me, the Ukrainians, and I kind of feed off of how their emotions are. And it actually helped me feel not so stressed out. It was definitely a culture shock.
I'm afraid to ask about what was the most biggest impression.
I don't even know where to begin. Like the food was absolutely different, right? So I'm from the U.S. and so our food is filled with preservatives and junk. I'm sorry, but you know, I come here and it's just so authentic, and the people are very kind. I think I drank more tea in my life the weeks I was here because everyone was they are so thankful for us being here that they offered everything that they had. Like I remember we went coming in, one of the girls that was with us, our doctor, she's actually Ukrainian. And so her uncle was right there on the border. He worked at the crossing. And we got there and they're like, oh, we just had like a little breakfast for you. It was not a little breakfast. It was fish and
I know this style, my mommy style.
And I was so like, this is amazing. And it was supposed to be like a 20-minute stop and turned into 3 hours. Like they were just so welcoming. And I was like, this is a beautiful environment.
Did they tell you like it's time for second coffee? When you take one breakfast coffee, then you eat, talk, and then second coffee.
I am the person who asks for the second coffee. You know what I see, to your question, what I see from our perspective to foreigners who come. I think there is an idea that we are like the third world war country. So sometimes I had even like people when they are just coming and they in contact with me, they ask like, do you have internet? Do you have like this? Like, yes,
of course I do.
You can. Oh, what should I
control.
bring? Yeah, what should I bring? I'm like, you can buy anything here, literally.
Yeah.
And then when they come, they are like, oh, it's actually okay. Everything's working. Even like closer to the front line, you can find pizza place. You can find, I don't know, barber shop. You can find coffee place. Our gas stations, beat Americans, I believe. All come and walk. We are not.
Really?
We are not paid for this. It's not an advertisement. Just our experience that we often eat on gas stations, and it's really like common. It's really cool.
The gas stations here are way better than anything in America. Like the food, everything.
Yeah, so I see this change on people sometimes, not with the team I work with.
Probably
all the time,
you didn't talk about Ukernafta. You know, you're talking about walk or because we have a very good gas station. You know, like lux level, and we have hardcore village gas station where we have one man with a beard and
it's okay.
and coffee from Wenceslav.
Well, we have a lot of experience being in bushes, so to have just a toilet, it's already like, wow, it's a luxury.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm so glad that you got nice experience because I got really controversial impressions from my foreign friends who came here before full-scale invasion, and there was like, oh, so much trash. Ooh, yeah, like some gypsy culture. You have so many different, like no design code of buildings, but different style. That's our actually part of our, I think, mind, because we like to combine different things in something one. But it can be not understandable for people from another country. No judging, like it's okay. I'm totally accept this point of view too. It's just our specific. I will do it later. Specificity.
It's okay. It's also part of our history. We had so much turns of the history. We were like part of empire. Then we were part of different empire. Then we got independence, and we are pushed to the empire back, but we are not willing to go there. But you can see even in our infrastructure and architecture of the cities. You can see signs of different times. That's why it's so hectic. It's not like it's planned to have it. It's not like even we like it. It's just what it is because we have different history.
I do love the European architecture.
Yeah.
So nice to look at, so pretty. Yes, we just, have industrial looking normal buildings.
It's also a part of global industrialization, and it's interesting. Like for me, I would love to see United States. If I will have a chance to get visa, then maybe I will fly and take a look. I would love to move closer to our topic about combat medicine, if you don't mind,
Sure.
and ask you what kind of courses do you conduct for Ukrainian soldiers? Basic, CLS level, higher level? Like, tell me more.
So, Force Ukraine, we focus more so on the advanced trauma medicine, but we also teach down to ASM, CLS, CMC. We believe basics need to be priority over advanced skills. Everybody wants to do the big sexy things, but we've noticed why we always start our first day of trainings as doing basic review because everybody needs it. We have a saying back in the US as BLS before ALS, saying that just because you have ALS on scene, it's all BLS before you even have to move over. And it's great. We teach all the way down to combat medics. We teach residents, so medical students. We teach civilians as well, stop the bleed. We teach kids.
Oh, you teach
did.
kids?
We teach children stop the
Your
bleed.
favorite part.
Now I have good memories because
I know
it's
how it
1 year
feels.
after.
I feel the vibe.
We used to really pride ourselves. So we are a traveling training unit, and we really pride ourselves in the beginning of going out very east, out to units who can't travel to us. But I'm sure the understanding of how much this conflict has risen, and we have a pretty big footprint with our team because we have 2 vehicles, 7 to 8, sometimes 9 or 10 of us. And so we try and push out as east as we can now to try and meet up with them, figure out like a training space because they still want this training and we want to try and give it to them as best as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have shit ton of stuff.
Yes, I know our vans are always so
like
packed.
a gypsy circle sometimes. And we try to figure out what Ukraine needs, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you will talk more about like how we implement our Ukrainian experience too.
Yeah, so
Yeah, this is an actual topic. I'm sorry for making this remark, but it's mostly for Ukrainians. I very usually hear the sentences, you probably have heard this too, that March was created by people who went through another experience.
Yes,
Our
yes.
modern war is totally different. Our reality is opposite. So it's a bit distance position from March. And sometimes it's like a superstitions people have in their mind. I would really like to hear your point of view on this and how to, I don't know, tear out this idea that March is something steel, metal, and can't go through evolution.
I think March is a good guideline. I think it gets you focused on the priority of the patient. So obviously like massive bleeding. The way that we teach March, first off, is we don't think about it as a line, we think about it across because March can happen continuously all together. But we also understand that our experience is way different than what your guys' experience is out on the front, especially with, World War II trenches with 21st century warfare. And so medicine has absolutely evolved. And so what we really try and do is we talk to individuals, combat medics like you guys who are actually out on the front, and we get your perspective and what's working and what's not. And so we try to always implement that into our trainings to ensure that we're staying up to date on your guys' experience and so that we can teach to what's contextually appropriate.
Yeah, thank you.
Another challenge is that in American structure, again, as I understand this, you have like ASM guy, CLS guy, CMC guy, they have very distinguished scope of practice. in our case, sometimes you have only like 3 SM guys in the trench and maybe medics somewhere nearby on a call, in the best case scenario. So we have to balance how to teach soldiers without any medical knowledge, like at least basic stuff, how they can count pulse, when to do conversion, because it's again, in American practice, only medics and doctors can do conversion. In our case, when evac is like 1 week after, we cannot wait. That's why people lose limbs. So we implement the necessity of conversion for like basic level and some other stuff. And we have to balance how to make medicine simple enough, but still good medicine for basic level of service members. And we also work with high-level providers for them to more like their way of thinking than just follow protocol, because you have different cases. Sometimes someone has like very, very specific anatomy or like so many conditions.
I think everyone in some meaning have very specific on it.
So we all learn all the time from Ukrainians, from us, and we like it's our mutual way to learn things, and we try to balance like still do like the good structure of what it is, like march. We use march, it's okay, but we try to balance on like more difficult, more conceptual things with this work,
like make them think outside of the mark. So we call it like a thinking paramedic in a term of, you know, like I said, march is a good guideline, but your patient is not textbook. They're never textbook, and so you can't
melt my heart.
And so like, you know, when we go through ASM, CLS, CMC, you know, you go through those slideshows and they say, okay, your patient presents like this, you do this. Well, we've run into that situation where a medic is like, hey, my patient presented like this, and nothing that said that needed to be done worked. And it's like, exactly. We have to be able to look at our patients, you know, like this path, but be able to veer off at any time for what needs to change, and you need to be 5 or 6 steps ahead of that injury and what's going on with your patient. And probably one of my harder things to learn how to do as somebody who has a medical background and has been a paramedic for a very long time is, how do I teach somebody with no medical background the anatomy and physiology and how to recognize when a patient is decompensating versus compensating, and how to make it comfortable for them to be able to recognize that in a high stress situation. It's probably been one of my harder things as an instructor, but also one of my more favorite ways of teaching, because to no fault of anybody's, it's the reality of this war that you have medics who have no medical background. And now we were out in, I think it was Izum, and this gentleman came, so he had gotten injured lost his leg, and it was 2 days before they got out. He says, hey, this guy is now going to be the medic of his team. He had no understanding of anything, not even a basic. And so we were kind of tasked with this, like, there's so much we need to teach him, but what do we teach him now that can help keep somebody alive? And I think about him all the time, because I'm like always questioning, did I teach him enough? Did I explain things enough? And
but I experience totally the same, trust me. And by the way, who doesn't know, March is a protocol which is in the process of changing all the time, and it has been changed since the beginning of the war. And if people just don't have this information about these new changes which we have in the protocol.
One of the problems is it's not so fast to translate all of that.
Very good.
If you know English, please check updates, at least in English version. And fingers crossed it's gonna be a fast translation for everyone, because it still works, it's still okay, but we need to use different perspective on that, especially if we talk about us as high providers, right? We cannot just do like step by step. We need to be more creative with that.
Now it's our chance. We didn't plan it, but it comes just like that. I would love to ask you about some topics that are still actual, and medics are fighting between each other for this. For example, NPP, you know, nasopharyngeal. airway management. You know what I'm talking about? The role of this thing has been a bit decreasing from the beginning, but what do you think both about this tool and what is the actual information in the protocol? Please destroy the myth, the legends about this, because people tell very different. Really, I've heard so different points of view on this. Yeah.
I think an NPA has a time and place to work effectively. One thing that we focus on is patient position and comfort. And so just because you have somebody on their back and you place an NPA doesn't give you automatic correctness of controlling that airway. And I think that kind of comes with seeing it firsthand, but also understanding the anatomy. One thing that I think gets missed a lot is the appropriate sizing of an NPA.
Oh yeah.
I remember going through some IFACs, again, no fault to their own, but some people had huge ones. I checked one guy's, it was way too short. And because it was to their understanding that it just needs to be an NPA and it needs to go. And so I think it's just a lack of training, lack of knowledge for that. So.
And remember about mechanism of injury. Now we mainly have blast injuries.
Yeah.
Exactly, and
And
burns
burns
Yes.
is not appropriate for NPA.
and TBI sometimes with hematomas and with the.
You never know what's happening in the
Yes.
skull inside. Yeah.
Like our rule of thumb, and it's in the protocol, right? It says any maxillofacial trauma, we don't place any NPAs, and they're still being placed because of the lack of training on it.
Yeah.
Or like delayed with updates, not read the current updates of it.
The second is a point in March I have to ask you, because I would love everyone hear this and later don't tell, oh, this, Alia said this, and I'm not alone who thinks so. But in our protocol, we have this strict information that conversion and movement of tourniquet,
replacement,
replacement, is allowed when there is no radial pulse and his unconsciousness. But actually, I think every medic understands that if his pulse is very weak and his consciousness is already balancing to sliding toward unconscious, it's also bad time for doing conversion, for example.
Now we're going to start your shock lecture.
Shock lecture. But
So, how you worded that was really beautiful, because one of the things we talk about, the classes of hemorrhagic shock, and your patient falls basically into these four categories, and the second to third category is compensated to decompensated. Now, a very injured person can be in that compensated stage with a very good radial pulse. They could have really good mentation, but they could have lost a certain X amount of blood and actually be in decompensated, but their body's compensated really well.
Yeah.
And so when
By
it
the way,
comes to that very small edge of, okay, well, I have a pulse, but it's very weak, and my patient was answering questions to me appropriately 5 minutes ago, but now I'm having to ask him questions 2 times. Like, we can already understand that patient's slipping into shock. And so I always say it's medicine, it depends, right? It depends. But I would caution, if you are not confident in it, I would maybe not. But I say that very lightly because, again, every situation is very differently.
Of course.
But what they're finding is, like, even an additional 50 to 100 mLs of blood loss can push that patient over the edge, and now they're going down into class 3, class 4. Well, not class 4. I'm like just like a decompensated shock. And do you have the tools to manage that patient if they completely decompensate? And so it's this very fine line that I think even back in the U.S. we're trying to figure out, especially here with what's going on in Ukraine.
Yeah, and when we explain conversion or replacement for people with less medical knowledge, we always implement that it should be very strong radial pulse, and your patient should be fully alert.
Oh, very nice highlighting this.
Not just answering your questions, but make sense, doesn't do strange movements, or you see they're fully okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they injured, they lost some blood, but they still they have all the signs of patient not in shock. Because if you start this and your patient is going down, not only because of blood loss of the procedure, but previous blood loss, they, for example, stop to compensate, you have troubles with that. So we always try to push it. It's very strong and very alert, very strong pulse.
Super. I will remember this, because sometimes I struggle with explaining something complicated in a simple way, and this is so good idea how to describe it. It's wonderful. Also, I faced sometimes problem, and it was my challenge at the beginning, to broaden the spectrum of view, because when you see trauma, you focus on it, like only his leg, and you put all attention to it, and you forgot about everything else. And it's also a question how to teach our soldiers, our men mostly, because the majority of our army is still men. So how to teach them see a little bit wider, and not only exactly on patient and all situation, like everything. You understand? Go to deep philosophy.
Such a question. I think back to when I went to paramedic school, and we call those injuries distracting injuries, because it's the big injury, it's what we can see, and that needs to be handled now. And if we get tunnel vision on that injury, we miss everything else that's going on with them. Especially, you might be focused on the injury below, but your patient was once talking to you is now unconscious, and you're so focused on that you haven't noticed that he's syncopated out. And so the best way, I think, to explain that or to teach that is to practice on it, right? Because I think we need to implement always that you have an awake talking patient in a training, and then on your watch count how long does it take for your medic to notice that he became unconscious. And that's why even, back home, it's always top to bottom. So if we take March, for instance, massive bleeding stops, but then I have to still assess everything else, especially if they have a significant injury. If they have a significant injury down there, the probability of them having something up here, especially with a blast injury, could be significant.
True, absolutely.
I think it just kind of comes with like patience, but also training. Something that I tell everybody is that ego can get your patient killed. And I say that because, I check myself as a paramedic as well, especially as a new paramedic. I did all the classes. I went to medic school, and I was like, I know everything about how to treat a patient.
I'm the most qualified person
I'm the most
here.
Qualified. But I remember several situations that I was one behind the 8 ball on a patient, that because I was just not complacent, but I was, I guess, a little complacent. I knew I needed to treat on scene, but I decided to move that patient because for my own comfort, right? It was raining, it was cold, but I needed to treat him in that situation, even though I wanted, hypothermia control is very important, but I needed to get him into the van. But I will always remember thinking, like, take 10 seconds for the next 10 minutes. Because then if I don't take those 10 seconds, then I'm chasing those 10 minutes that I wish I had left.
I think practice with a lot of repetition can work, because I will say it because I don't want Emily be roasted in commentary, so I'll keep it on myself. We all suck in primary assessment. We suck at it dramatically. I remember we did like our internal drill when Emily was a patient. Me and our friend Victoria were like providers. Sometimes when we could have a day off, we try to like practice it because we also have our own safety plan, and we try to like figure out what we are doing if someone of us is down. So we did it, and I did teachings like thousands of times for the last 4 years, but I don't always have chance to practice it. Even if I was a student on some courses, but still I have no enough like hands-on. And we did it. It wasn't horrible, but I understood, like, I didn't do this. I missed this during assessment. I missed that, and I made the wrong decision because I misunderstood the like conditions. Even if like I'm teaching this. So it was very important to embrace the suck. accept it and understand that we need to, yes,
so deeply, but it's so true.
every one of us
Breaks
who,
his heart.
every one of us who perceive themselves, ourselves as a medical provider should accept that we have to fight our own ego in this and
Yeah.
practice. Even if I'm like, I know some surgical procedures and I could do this, and even no one will allow me, but still, or like I know some sexy medical, very advanced tools or procedures, I still need to practice with basics because we'll lose it on the way. And there's not this things too much practice in anything, especially with basics. Maybe with this way we can create this broader thinking you're talking about when we like start to notice something and then we can implement like parallel thinking. Okay, I'm treating the march like
Levels,
the massive bleeding on M, but I simultaneously I'm thinking about a few other processes and I need to finish my good assessment even if I see like huge wound on a leg. So it's part of like many repetitions and internal analysis.
Yes.
How many times have you seen, while first assessment, this? It looks good.
Oh, so many. So many. I'm like,
Tell me that I'm not alone who observed this.
that
Like,
looks fine.
it's okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like,
no naked body, but
Like, oh, if you would have done this, you would have seen that injury that I put right there.
yeah, exactly. Oh, it's okay. He's fine. Huh. This is so quick decisions and quick conclusions.
Yeah, well, like this game, Emily actually not invented, but kind of like make it famous. When we use like small dots of duct tape or something like colors, put it everywhere on the
huge fan of
sometimes in middle fingers or something like this. And we make our students to search every one of that. And in this way, they start to understand, okay, I should like take off the shoes. I have to like elevate the arm to see armpit, everything. Like it's a great game.
And between the fingers. Like, it's just, like, obviously you would see an injury if it was in the fingers. But
Yes.
I think the first time I saw that was down with ANR with Kyle. And it's a genius.
Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. It's a genius training tool because it just, what we really push for is like, this is not a who can find the dots the fastest. This is your time to understand the importance of doing a full head to toe assessment. And I had one of the students made a really good point. He's like, well, it's really hard for us to do this when we're in a CASEVAC vehicle, the very small ones. And absolutely, right? You're under red light or no light. How do you do that type of assessment? And I think the best advice that we gave him or that I can think of is just to check the primary areas, like, the junctions, look for your massive bleeding and then the chest, because we tell them, you have to get into the groin, you want to expose the legs. But I mean, if you're working with that tiny space, you have to work with what you got.
Yeah.
And not to rely on your eyes. Use your arms as your
Oh,
arms.
exactly. That's why it's not a clapping, for some guys who ask me why did we do this, just because we want to include all of our senses, not only eyes. Yeah. And also one of my questions is related to your maybe a dramatic experience you faced during our war. Maybe some cases when you lost patient or you couldn't reach it, which is also happens.
Repeat that question again. You're asking like if I've had a patient?
Your own experience with a patient when something goes wrong, or it can be actually any story which you regard as a transforming and not very funny, like sad one.
Yeah. So the only patient treatment that I've done out here is when I got to go to a stab point last year. Well, no, our last mission. And the first night that I was there was just filled with very heavy casualties. And we were up all night. And it was more so of their reality. One of the guys came in that was deemed not a heavy casualty. He was a light casualty. He was on one bed and he had shrapnel down onto his lower leg. But then his friend came right after him in the same room with he was a heavy casualty, massive injury to his face. He had shrapnel down his leg. And, you know, he was screaming. We were trying to get him onto the bed. And he's having to sit there and, like, watch this in his own type of trauma. And we ended up having to sedate him. And it was like a moment of realization of, you know, we always separate our trauma patients out, right? But they don't have that.
To see.
He has, you know, he's seen it. And because of the medication we gave him, you know, now he's looking over and he's watching his buddy get completely head to toe, you know, massive. He was getting some massive surgery to stabilize some major bleeding. His facial was almost not, so what I'm looking for, not, you can't tell what was happening, unrecognizable. Thank you. I look at her, it's like, you know, that his
No
face,
what's happening. We just read our minds. It's
you know, his
okay.
face was almost unrecognizable, and I could only imagine what that was like casevacing that patient here. And while those two were on the table, all of their friends were outside the door, and I had to go upstairs to get something. And as soon as I opened that door, all of them stood up, getting ready to like ask questions, and it was very reality driven. And I was like, this is their everyday life, and you know, it's sad to think about what they're experiencing, what they're feeling. But for me personally, for a patient, so back home when I worked in pre-hospital, I was called the Black Cloud because, you know, or Dr. Death, because I always got the very injured or very sick patients because we were by a train. That kind of explains where I'm going with this. And I just remember always thinking, like, is there more that I can do for these patients? Did I do more? The one call that really sticks out to me even to this day, and it's been about 6 years ago, was a mother who gave birth to a baby. The baby was 9 days old. And the first thing I saw when I walked in was this baby in a car seat and then her in her bed. And she was pale, cool, diaphoretic, not answering my questions appropriately. She had no palpable blood pressure, so we had a treat on site. And then at that point, you know, we're realizing that she's decompensating, so we have to get her going. And we got her into the back of our ambulance, but as soon as we got into the back, we lost pulses. So now I'm doing CPR, we're intubating, we're getting her set up. And I remember getting pulses back, but then we pulled her into the ER. She lost pulses again, and so now we're doing the game again of CPR and pushing all the medications in, trying to get her stabilized, and unfortunately she didn't make it. And all I could think about at that time was like that 9-day-old baby whose mom was dying next to him, and the husband, he was so, you know, he was as good as he could be in that situation. But it also made me realize how lack of resources we had. What she needed was blood, and she needed a lot of things that I wish I could have done for her. So I held a lot of regret with that patient, and it actually took me, it still affects me to this day. And it's definitely not like the injuries you guys see here. And that's not how I want to like word that story, that like, you know, I have this simple medical mercy that happened.
Very important.
But it was every time I've lost a patient, I had to ask myself, you know, could I have done something better? And then understand that I can't have these feelings by myself. I have to talk them out with somebody, because there were times where I would hold in a lot of that resentment with myself and question everything. I had a situation where this guy had varices, basically threw up half his blood volume, blood everywhere, and he unfortunately passed. But the family blamed me for his death, even though it was something nobody could have controlled. And like, I was already blaming myself because I never want a patient to die, you know, but then having that blame come from the other side because they're angry and they want someone to blame. But I realized that now when I don't know something, I'm always the first person on scene to ask my other medics, ask someone smarter than me. I'm like, hey, what do you think this is? Because if I hadn't on those scenes, I think I would have held it more for myself. But I always had a really good team behind me where we all kind of experienced it together, and we all felt it with that mom, right? We're always like, gosh, we could have done something more. We should have done better. Like, now that 9-day-old baby doesn't have a mom. Was it because of our inability to have the correct resources? But we'll never know. And she ended up being really sick, and the consensus was that she was very septic, she was very anemic, she had all kinds of things going on with her. So even if maybe we had the resources, she probably unfortunately was going to die. But I've realized a lot with losing patients that I do everything I can for them in the moment. I push every resource that I can think of. I call in to smart individuals and I ask for their guidance, like, hey, I have this person, what do you think is going on? Because then I can leave that situation saying to myself that I did everything possible for that patient.
One smart man told me that whatever happened, you did what you could because your level of knowledge, your experience, your resources, the circumstances were like this. And inside of this, with your mind and with your level of understanding, you could do only this. You didn't have so much choice as you understand now, thinking with your mind now, with your experience now, trying to analyze one of those bad days you had in your experience and thought, oh, I could do this, I could do that. If we could, we did. You know, we just couldn't somehow, unfortunately. But this is where our experience grow from.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, pain can be a point of growth. It's not very pleasant moment, but that's how life works.
Yeah.
Especially when you're adult, you need to accept this.
Oh,
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. We will name this podcast Embrace the Suck.
No, I think to be in medicine, you have to internally ask yourself, can I handle it? Because I've seen, especially back in the US, you know, people want to be the paramedic and they want to be in charge and they want to rule these scenes and they want to take care of and save lives of these patients. But it's not just saving lives and doing all the cool things. It's also understanding that we're not going to save everybody. And a lot of people, someone actually really close to me, she realized that she couldn't do it. You know, that first death, that first infant death was something very traumatic. And it is extremely traumatic.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think just like here, right, medicine isn't always sexy. Sometimes it's extremely terrifying. And it's, you know, that reality of, oh, I have to do this and I learned this skill, but am I confident in this skill? And that's another thing, right? Is like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Exactly. Yeah, this is wise.
Another point that we as providers shouldn't be too emotional. Sometimes when I see, like I was in OR, I was everywhere, ICU, all of that. Yeah, I've seen
the smell.
Yeah, the smell. I've seen burn patients. I've seen everything. I saw internal world of human being and all kinds of traumas. But
very, very similar.
Yeah,
there.
but what I understood, I was lucky to be cold-blooded enough to encounter these situations, and we can help our patients more if we stay calm-headed, but we are not too emotional invested, but we're still kind to them to help them as much as we can. And to your question about some losses, we lost, us Ukrainians, we lost a lot of people and beloved ones and close ones. But I just recall one story. As I saw this patient, I think it was 2023, and I still see his eyes all the time. It was my first mission in the hospital. It was a team of few American surgeons. They came here to work together with Ukrainian surgeons with damage control and like better care of wounds. Yeah, and we went to ICU in one of the hospitals, emergency hospital, and it was full. Even if it's civilian hospital, it was full of soldiers. And I remember we came into one room, and there was this guy. He was maybe 22, 23, big blue eyes. He lost his arm and like diagonal his leg with high and tight tourniquets, and we suspect he didn't even need them. What happened? He was on the front lines. He and his body, they were hit with something, and they stuck in the pit of the bomb or drone or something for 16 hours. And because they were trained in ASM, apply tourniquet and keep it, It was too late to do conversions. And when he was evacuated to the Role 1 hospital, of course, they did amputations. And it was the Role 2 hospital when we saw him. And he was, I cannot even explain what was in his eyes. He was under medications because he had TBI, he has pneumonia because of something happened after the injury. So he was very, very like fucked. But I was thinking, this young guy, he lost 2 limbs and he still has this spirit in his eyes and he's ready to like jump out and fight. And I was so impressed by him. And in that moment, I understood like I shouldn't show my pity or something to him because he's a fucking warrior. I found myself like very calm and cold. I was talking to him and I realized that we need to do something. We need to change this, that this young guy lost his limbs because of mistraining or like our misconception. It was 2023, right? It was one of my personal points. We need to change something. And then I met few different teams, including Forza, who started to push conversion to more basic level. Another topic we are passionate about, both of us actually, is whole blood or forward. There is a lot of legends, myth, and misunderstanding about blood. I get it. I get the concerns about blood transfusion, especially in the field, but we try to break the ice because so many soldiers could be saved just by transfusion in the field.
I'm a bit, overthinking about this topic. I completely agree. But my reference is that medicine in 2023 was less maybe developed than now because we have experience, and now it's more rare when we have amputation. Just a lot of stabilization point do very effectively conversions with fascectomy and modern operation procedures which help to keep the limb. But at the beginning of the war was so chaotic. So many people were lack of experience and they actually did what they could. By the way, who didn't know, now it's very popular video from Russian troops where they amputate which were just with a fracture. Like so stupid. I can say that I'm so full of compassion to Russians, but I still feel it because it's so stupid and unhuman to do like that. It's all lack of information. I want to ask you one question which is important for me also. How do you think, what is more important, what is more a priority? Run and do what you can in a care under fire, like cuff zone. You run towards your wounded comrade, or you keep distance, you try to protect yourself, you try to find resources and figure out the situation. What would you do?
I think for me, in a care under fire situation, that I've obviously never been in a care under fire situation, but I think about it in the sense of like how we train our firefighters and everybody back home. If something happened on the scene, the worst thing that you can do is go to that scene and create more casualties, more injuries. It's better to, again, right, take those 10 seconds for the next 10 minutes. If we react on emotion instantly, then we are causing a bigger threat, a bigger harm to the entire team at that point. It's unfortunate that it happens, right? Especially if that's your friend who got injured. The first thing you want to do is go and save your friend.
Impulse.
Yeah, exactly. But you also have to think about the reality, right? Especially if you're the only medic and now your other medic is injured. If I get injured and I go after him, especially if he just got hit, they're probably still there. And if I get hit, now my rest of my guys don't have anybody. And so I guess my answer to that is just you kind of have to think about that situation, and you never want to make it worse than it already is, unfortunately.
I absolutely agree. You know my point to this.
We always joke there is March, and actually it's Smarch, security first.
Smart.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I will use it, I promise.
G-Smart.
just March,
Smart.
gloves,
Smart.
security, and March.
Mike.
Yeah. But jokes away, the first thing we usually talk about on any level of training, your security first. And it doesn't matter, there is fire, there is electricity, someone's drowning. You have to take care of yourself, not to stupidly run into that. So we won't tell the Zoom situation when 2 firefighters were running towards the fire, but it was controlled. Yeah, so not only because you can become a casualty, but also you're not helping. And you need to, again, we need to learn how to stay not emotional and calm down, because we need our rational thinking. What I can do better? Maybe I can call them and make them crawl to me.
Yes.
And I can, maybe they can apply a tourniquet, and they're just so lost in like emotional experience, or like just so shocked, not in a physiology way, just emotional. Yeah. They just lost, and we can tell them, come on, apply a tourniquet, crawl to me. What do you have? Like, again, our team lead Mike always shows this in the beginning of the course, any course, what we can do with March, without touching the patient. We can talk with them from the distance. And security is always ignored because we are very emotional beings. We have this push to run and help, but we need to train ourselves to stop and think what is necessary, even if we see someone is suffering. But we will be more efficient and help better if we won't go like stupidly towards the fire.
Everyone, I think, who has connection to medicine or feel like devotion, am I right, to medicine, they have a level of empathy, and maybe like me, because I had dreams like go through bullets and save someone, and I carry it. Like I really dreamed about that. Like I saved someone's life, just like that. Because in our society, that's what I discovered from the books, by the way, that in our society, people's mind really appreciate something which look heroic, but something which look like planning looks boring. And planning actually gives more successful result than this fight was under the dangerous. You understand what I try to, sorry for my English, I tried to express some good thought with very limited vocabulary, but
I actually have a good example of hero to break an idea of who is hero, we usually see someone is like, but actually the hero has to have 3 qualities. First, it's like compassion, empathy, to want to help. Second is the strength, be, I don't know, Superman, Batman in a modern suit, whatever. And
smart.
Third, they should be wise, because only compassion and only strength is not enough. You are gonna be like, I don't want to use Hulk explanation, but because he's still pretty smart, but in the condition of Hulk, he's not. You can break, you just break everything, and you have like, you have this wish to help, and you have strength to break the walls, but you don't have this wisdom to understand what exactly you need to do in this situation. For this, we have to like still be compassionate but less emotional. I think this is what how I train myself to be in different situations. Like keep calm and try to be smart and just use your compassion
and not jump to conclusions very fast.
Something that helps me is I say that this is not my emergency. This is their emergency. And if I have a chaotic mind, my hands are going to be chaotic. My thoughts are going to be chaotic. And trying to tell people how to do something is going to be chaotic. So I really liked how Yulia worded that right. We can't bring emotions into the field. Afterwards, yes, find a room, cry, let it out, let that stress out. It's super helpful. But on the field, like your people are dependent on you to be straight thinking, be confident in what you're doing. It's okay to be scared. I think scared keeps you aware. It keeps you, I guess, like not resilient, but like
it's adequate.
In the present.
It keeps you present in the moment. It's the same.
I would love also to add, it's, I'm sorry, it's a bit dramatic moment, but it really happens that sometimes you think that you will do something heroic, you will run toward this guy, you will save him, but you don't know exactly how wounded he is. And sometimes, and this is actually my experience, you can carry this one, you can brought him to the hospital, and then he will die. Or because we never can make a forecast, but you risk your life, which is now you have it, and you're full, you're not injured, and you risk, you don't know even if he still will able to survive. I'm sorry for saying this, but it's just an argument. If you have a collection of arguments for common sense, it's one of it. You never know.
Yeah, triaging is probably the hardest thing for anybody to do, medic or somebody under a medic. Because at one point that was your friend, you guys worked alongside each other. So how do you make that decision to say to leave them or to bring them? You know, there's some units I talk to where nobody gets left, everybody gets brought out, and there's some people that had to have made that really hard decision of, you know, if they don't respond back to me and I don't see any movement within a certain amount of time, we have to leave them because it was just too much, and then we'll try to get them afterwards. You know, I think about that one on that we had a student last year who unfortunately was killed, and without going into too much details, right, he was left, and the way he was left, I don't know too much about the why, but the conversation was that they were going to go get him, and we will never know if they were able to or not. But even that, like that psychological emotion, I can only imagine how that would feel to have to leave somebody.
I always went to the point, if they could, they would take. If they really could, like with all their body condition, with their mind, it's a lot of facilities should come together for a certain decision. So I'm not judging anyone for anything. I'm not judging for very noble motivation to run and save. I'm not judging for common sense to stay, wait, and think and do making a plan. Like, no judging, absolutely. I really love the Forza motto. Like, how did you say?
Options, not answers.
Options, not answers. I love it. Options, not answers.
We will never come into a space and say, you have to do it this way.
This is the only way.
This is the only way you have to do it. You can't do it any other way. One of our favorite things to do is like we show a certain way, and someone's like, well, I was taught this way. I'm like, that's perfect. That's just another option. This is just another option. You're going to find what works for you. Out of these two options, you can find your own option that's going to work for you. And I think that's really resonated with a lot of our students because, you know, a lot of the courses they've been into is like, you have to do it this way every single time. And if you don't, then your patient's going to die. There are some things that if you don't do it correctly, your patient could die. But I think it's kind of give them the sense of autonomy that they can kind of control how they present certain situations to what works for them and to how, like, their own experience, because it's easy for us to quarterback chair, meaning like it's easy for me to hear somebody's scenario and say, well, you should have done this and this and this, but I wasn't there. I do not know what that situation was like. And so for me to have any judgment at all is just so incredibly inappropriate. And I've heard, you know, unfortunately, a lot of individuals who have been like, well, it sounds like you should have done this. But again, right, ego is very dangerous as a medic. And in this world, unfortunately, it's all over the place, even in the US. Nobody should ever feel ashamed for the decision that they made, but I think it is very appropriate that when a situation happens where there is major consequences, that they have to take their ego aside and take that step back and realize, okay, I fucked up. I made a very terrible decision, and now X, Y, and Z happened, or my guys were injured or killed, and it's nothing. I think shame is important to have because it keeps us from doing mistakes again in the future. But yeah, so we really emphasize it. We have cold patches now. Say options, not answers. We start our big course. We spent actually every course now, every training we do. Is like,
I
hey.
will buy it. It should be merch. I will buy it and spread it. And at the end of our common dialogue, I would love to hear from you some, I don't know, maybe positive Ukrainian words or things you got from our culture and you like to use. It's also a question to you. Maybe you have something favorite in our, I don't know, proverb favorite, or you have some.
Now we have an English one, favorite English one.
You can say if your favorite English one.
No, we just have it. You embrace the suck, right?
Embrace the suck. Yeah, I will make a tattoo. Next tattoo will be embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. I really love uvaha. Like that just really grabs people's attention. It says like attention, like when we scream it, or like I'll listen up. Yulia's taking voice lessons right now, and let me tell you, when she uvahas, that it just ricochets off the walls, and everyone's attention just comes straight to her. If you haven't caught on, Yulia is my voice. She is my primary translator, and I'm just going to take a moment to acknowledge that, because without her, actually without every interpreter on our team, there's no way we could do what we do. And they are basically the ones teaching, is how I kind of think about it. Like, Yulia knows my blood lecture by heart. I'll sometimes add, a few different things. She's like, oh, spaghetti today. I'm like, yes, spaghetti sauce today. But, we could not be here without you guys. And so I really appreciate you.
Yeah, and it's interesting that after so much time together working, I feel like we can read each other's mind. Like, that's why she was. I'm like, oh, this word. I'm not sure. Yeah, and oh my God, I cannot even like. We have a lot of Ukrainian expressions.
Make a drone sound.
As you by the way, the story behind my voice lessons. It was the very beginning of my voice lessons, and I just came back home from the mission, and we were living in the same house, and I started to do one sound, and I'm telling my teacher, like, Ivan, I'm sounding like a drone. He's like, no. And she like knocks to me, and like, is this a drone?
Did you hear this? Like, did you see him?
Just me. Yeah, no, it's very different.
And then she sent me messages in advance, which sound like, soon will be a drone. Or prepare yourself.
Yeah, now it's very different.
Cares about my mental state.
Yeah, I have like, of course we use some soldiers expressions, but I like short words. I can push my emotions to that, like vaho, like bihom, when you push with tourniquets or something like this, like one word, it's like a hit. And and we of course know some swearing and some other stuff, some soldiers jokes and all of that, and we kind of like, again, culturally we explain a lot of like superstitions of Ukrainian, like old school habits. One of Mike's favorites now, that if you sit on the cold floor, you're going to have pneumonia and die immediately. And we were joking, like before this mission, we were in Chernihiv for a week, and it was like ice skating there, still a lot of snow. And Mike was joking, like, if I fell down, I might break a hip and I will catch the cold, I'm going to die of pneumonia. So we still have this joke that, like all these superstitions about like cool air and cold surface. Dear viewers, it's bacteria, not the cold air of cold Sophie.
One myth is destroyed.
No, I'm gonna be roasted in the commentaries, but I'm ready for this.
Yeah. We all be anyway. Doesn't matter what we're gonna say. Trust me. Питання є? I'm so endlessly grateful, and I'm truly enjoying your company. I want you come again and again and again, and we make a Netflix series from this podcast, because the topic is really huge, really. And in a one short session, we can't describe everything I want, but I do believe it's not our last meeting, and I don't know, next time we will maybe do more funny stuff, fancy tricks for audience, but for today, really, really grateful. Love both of you. And
Thank you
for
for
having
having
us.
us. You see?
That was brilliant. So, всім дякую за увагу. Увага, да. Будь ласка, дивіться наші подкасти і підписуйтесь на канал Рейту.